77%. Look at this. 86% of Republicans approve of the job that Donald Trump is doing. Trump's magic touch has not seen the war off yet when it comes to the Republican base.
And overall, Americans are still generally supportive of these strikes, but one survey at least says that support will dwindle the longer this conflict rages on. And already Americans are seeing an economic impact, with gas prices being up 27 cents in the last week alone. Here to discuss, Mark Penn, former Clinton advisor, chair of the Harris poll, along with Ben Domenech, Fox News contributor and host of the Big Ben Show. So Mark, it's hard to speculate now, like what will things look like in November. But the cost of energy has been a focus of this administration, and they've done a really good job of lowering gas prices, and yesterday, of tackling the issue of electricity and all these big AI build-outs. So if energy stays at a sustained and high price, how will that affect the midterms?
Well, look, this is likely to be a bread and butter midterms, in the sense that even though there are so many things going on with foreign affairs, the voters seem fixated on how they're doing economically. And so far, even though the economy is actually doing quite well, most voters don't see the economy as going well. But I think the president knows that he's got to get gas prices back down during the summer. He's got a strategic petroleum reserve. He's got good relations with the Saudis. He's got a lot of, I think, tricks up his sleeve here to make sure that gas prices are down by the midterms.
Now, and despite the polling that at least we're looking at, and again, that'll change perhaps over time, but the media are arguing that the big battle here is inside the Republican Party, Ben, over Trump strikes. Watch.
There's a decent-sized chunk of the Republican electorate that doesn't like it. And those people are speaking for a part of Trump's coalition that cared about the no-war promises of Donald Trump, that cared about his isolationist commitments, that for 10 years he said, no more endless wars. I don't want to wage war against Iran. I'm not saying in total they're abandoning Donald Trump, but man, there's a big fight happening in the Republican Party over this issue.
Ben, how big a fight is it?
Laura, I am so angry at you. Every time I listen to John Heilemann, I get stupider, and I can't believe that you would force me to do so, even for that amount of time. Look, this is ridiculous. It's completely false, and it's not borne out by any of the data that we're actually looking at. The Republican base is totally united when it comes to Trump on this issue. And I'm sorry for John, but as much as he wants to say that there's some kind of crack-up happening on the right, it's simply not true. I actually think people are, surprisingly, perhaps, even more supportive of the president than I might have guessed. The thing is, though, they judge things based on outcomes and success. And so because of that, I think you see that in the poll data. This has to be a war that is encompassed in the realm of weeks and most months, not something that drags on, not something that certainly drags on into the summer. That's going to require our military to do a lot of things in short order. They've shown the capability to do it thus far. I think the president has the confidence in their ability to do it, and that's why I don't think this is going to be any kind of decisive issue, and certainly is not leading to the crack-up of the coalition of the right, which I think is as united around Donald Trump as it ever has been.
Now, Mark, these people have been wrong about so many issues. Okay, it was going to be populism was dead. Trump's never going to come back to politics. I mean, the tariffs are going to kill the economy. And now, Mark, we're supposed to believe him on this?
Well, look, I think in most wars, what we've seen is the American public supports it, then it starts, then it goes on too long, and then the support drains out. This is kind of interesting in that I think support will grow as this is successful. Obviously it's got to end in a reasonable amount of time, but I think people were surprised that we did it because it was a surprise in many ways and meant to be. And I see opinion moving in the direction. I think MAGA voters are 100% behind the president. My data shows that. I think it's Democrats, some of whom are opposing it because they believe that it's the wrong thing to do. Many of them are just trying to be the opposition party and basically stick with their party no matter what.
Or they're just mad that Biden and Obama couldn't perhaps fix this problem. Again, success will be the ultimate test here. Mark and Ben, thank you both very much. And up next, a new activist judge about to take the bench. Who is it? I'll tell you next. Democrat cities and Democrat towns, criminals will end up running the streets. Take Charlotte, North Carolina. What has happened in that city? That's where Irina Zarutska died when her throat was slashed by a career criminal.
I am Rebecca Canna, and I'm running for district court judge. I'm running to bring fairness, integrity, and respect to the bench.
Well, she's actually running to be a judge, in Charlotte. And what she left out of her ad is that she's for abolishing jails, telling the Queen City Nerve in 2020 that I do believe that we can envision a world where we don't put people in cages and in prisons, and we don't feel like that's the way to reform people. Cannon just won Tuesday's primary to be the district court judge who covers all of Mecklenburg County. And because no Republicans have even entered the race, she will be unopposed on the November ballot. So she's just another activist, pro-criminal judge. Here to react is Paul Morrow, former NYPD inspector, Fox News contributor. Paul, Habakkuk Cannon did work for a bail fund during the George Floyd riots and was arrested herself multiple times though all the charges were dropped. She also resigned from her job as a public defender after she couldn't separate her activism from her work, it turns out. But she's headed for the bench.
Yeah, and isn't it funny, Laura, how these people who get continually arrested somehow continue to have the charges dropped? Because from where I sit as an attorney, if you get arrested, charged with a felony, and convicted, you lose your law license, and then you certainly couldn't be a judge. But somehow or other, the system takes care of its own. It's been very, very institutionalized by the left in areas that the Republicans don't
Can you believe that?
Candidate. And what am I talking about? New York City, where the last regime here, the de Blasio regime, institutionalized the kind of stuff you're talking about by closing Rikers Island. That's the New York City jail. We're going to go down, and I hope you're sitting down, we're going to go down 75% in jail beds from where we are right now. 3/4. We don't lock anybody up now, and we're going to go down 3/4. Where are we going to put them? The police won't be able to make the arrests, and so they're not going to make them. I shudder to think what this city is going to look like a year or two from now after a couple of years of Mamdani and Rikers Island closed down.
Yeah, I think you're making an excellent point, though. Republicans, we can complain about this, but if no one, has the guts and the wherewithal to step forward and say, I want to lead here, well, what do we expect we're going to get? They're going to get more failure and more policies that end up putting people on the street, like, that freak Abdul Jalal who just stabbed that poor 41-year-old mother in Fairfax County. It's about 25 minutes from where we're broadcasting tonight. I mean, just slashed her, 30 arrests.
They're against the 3-strike rule. Maybe we can get in like a 25-strike rule. Could you think we could get that through a legislature that maybe would hold? It's astounding, and it's because the left today, it's on the right as well. The Republican Party in many of these blue cities is entirely moribund and is completely dispirited and have given up, which we shouldn't do, because even if you're going to lose, you got to spread the playing field and make them spend money and make people realize there is a counter-narrative. But at the end of the day, this does devolve to the voting public, and they've imbibed one of two things from where I sit. Either they're completely ignorant and they just pull the D lever out of a habit, the arm just does it, or they've bought into an ideology that's been promulgated by the academic left that we're seeing on our campuses that just says any incarceration is somehow or other oppression, racist. It ends up going all the way into the kind of stuff that we see even in the Mideast these days, where you see the criminal class aligning with the Islamists. It's that dangerous.
Oh my goodness, Paul, it's always great to see you. Thank you, my friend. And coming up, why could California Democrats be suddenly panicking? Next. 2 Dems, 2 Republicans, doesn't matter. Now, here's why the Democrats are worried. Recent polling shows none of their candidates getting the majority of support, which means the top 2 spots could go to Republicans Steve Hilton and Chad Bianco. California Democratic Party Chair Rusty Hicks writes an open letter saying, if you do not have a viable path to make it to the general, do not file to place your name on the ballot for the primary election. So far, only one candidate seems to be listening.
Hold on. Get the FaceTime here.
Hey Eric, what's up, man? It's Ian.
Hey, Ian. What's up?
Look, we've got to come together now to make life more affordable in this state. There are too many pressing problems, and we need a new generation of leadership ready to govern on day one. So what do you say we do it together? I want to endorse you for governor of California. Let's get it done.
Oh, that's really going to change a lot of minds. Here to weigh in, Steve Hilton, California gubernatorial candidate. Steve, do they still not get the fact that celebrity endorsements don't really matter? They're still hoping, I guess, that works. Katy Perry for Hillary, etc.
Yeah, exactly. I think my teenage sons would definitely put that down as cringe. I mean, what a joke these people are. I love the way, by the way, this ridiculous top two system is coming back to bite them. But the thing is, they keep going on about the quantity problem that they have. Too many candidates running. They don't talk about the quality problem. They're just absolutely unbelievably bad. As the president might say, they're not sending their best. Look who we've got. Eric Swalwell, Katie Porter, the billionaire climate fanatic, Tom Steyer, Javier Becerra, who is Biden's HHS secretary, telling our kids to wear masks. These people are a complete disaster.
Well, Steve, one of the candidates isn't reacting well to this dropout message. Check this out.
Bernie Sanders was right. Our political system is rigged. The California Democratic Party is essentially telling every candidate of color in the race for governor to drop out. Instead, they want a billionaire, a man who doesn't even bother showing up for work in Congress, and a person who tears into her staff and reporters on the regular, all white candidates, to stay in the race.
Okay, so that Democrat, Tony Thurmond, really, stay in the race, Tony. They all should stay in the race. So now woke is coming back to bite them because you're never woke enough for the Democrats, right? Never.
I know. It's amazing, isn't it? They just can't let go of the ridiculous identity politics. It reminds me of Kamala Harris. Oh, she lost because of discrimination against women, and you're never going to have a... No, she lost because she's terrible and useless, and everyone could see that.
Well, Steve, I find this to be absolutely fascinating as a dynamic, and I can't tell you how many people I chatted with today who had no idea that this is the way it works in California. I mean, finally, a wacky rule works in perhaps Republicans' favor, but you're actually finding support in unlikely places in the state, I know, because I have a lot of family out in California, and a lot of it has to do with immigration.
Yes, exactly. I mean, we talk about a housing crisis in California. We've got the highest housing costs in the country. The California dream of owning your own home, totally out of reach for the next generation. We wouldn't have such a massive housing crisis if we didn't have such massive levels of illegal immigration. It's the same with, we have the highest unemployment rate in the country in California. And they say we need to import more cheap foreign labor. No, it's ridiculous.
All right, Steve, thank you very much. We're going to be following this. We just found out that Iran hit 2 hotels in, was it Bahrain? Yeah, in Bahrain, and 2 residential buildings as well. So Fox News will be covering these developments all night long. So stay with us on Fox News. Remember, it's America now and forever. Follow me on social media. A lot of new photos and video up there. I visited with someone very special on Capitol Hill. I'll tell you about that tomorrow. Jesse is next.
And in just the last hour, U.S. B-2 bombers dropped dozens of 2,000-pound penetrator bombs targeting deeply buried ballistic missile launchers. Notably, we've also struck Iran's equivalent of Space Command, which degrades their ability to threaten Americans.
On top of that, Israel says it's knocked out the enemy's cyber warfare headquarters and one of their intel hubs. Plus, 30 of their warships have been turned into seafood. And we just got another big one.
In just the last few hours, we hit an Iranian drone carrier ship, roughly the size of a World War II aircraft carrier, and as we speak, it's on fire.
The commander-in-chief's monitoring the situation and is quite pleased.
As soon as they set off a missile, within 4 minutes, the launcher gets hit. They don't know what's happening. Their Navy is gone. 24 ships in 3 days. That's a lot of ships. Their anti-aircraft weapons are gone. So they have no air force. They have no air defense. All of their airplanes are gone. Their communications are gone. Missiles are gone. Other than that, they're doing quite well.
Secretary of War Pete Hegseth says Iran's strategy is simple. Take a beating and wait us out.
Iran is hoping that we cannot sustain this which is a really bad miscalculation. There's no shortage of American will here. We've got no shortage of munitions. Our stockpiles of defensive and offensive weapons allow us to sustain this campaign as long as we need to. If you think you've seen something, just wait.
The Pentagon's testing its doomsday ballistic missile now in the Pacific, the Minuteman III. It's a big one, capable of carrying nuclear warheads 20 times more powerful than the atomic bomb dropped on Hiroshima. It can travel 6,000 miles at speeds of 15,000 miles an hour. It's hypersonic and can strike anywhere in the world in less than 30 minutes. Air Force Global Strike Command says the missile was tested to verify its effectiveness, readiness, and accuracy, just in case we have to use it. And the test was successful. The Iranians noticed and picked up the phone.
They're tough, and they want to fight. And they're calling, they're saying, how do we make a deal? I said, you're being a little bit late. And we want to fight now more than they do.
If you're a mullah, you're panicking. But in front of the camera, they're Rambo, trying to bait America into a ground war.
Are you afraid of a U.S. invasion in your country?
No, we are waiting for them.
You were waiting for the U.S. military to invade the ground troops?
Yes, because we are confident that we can confront them, and that will be a big disaster for them.
Boots on the ground, not part of this operation, says the Pentagon. Right now, it's an air campaign, and it's been devastating and running ahead of schedule. Although Trump is saying he's all for a Kurdish ground offensive. More on that later. But Iran has an even bigger problem. Reports say Iranian soldiers, police officers, and Revolutionary Guards aren't showing up to work. Maybe they're dead. Maybe they're in hiding. Or maybe they're waiting for immunity.
I'm once again calling on all members of the Iranian Revolutionary Guard, the military, and the police to lay down their arms. They're only going to be killed. And now is the time to stand up for the Iranian people and help take back your country. So you'll be perfectly safe with total immunity, or you'll face absolutely guaranteed death.
The mullahs are getting sloppy. Today, an Iranian drone hit Azerbaijan, the 12th country to be attacked by Tehran. And now they're vowing to retaliate.
What Iran is doing by targeting allied countries that would otherwise want to stay out of this, they've actually pulled them into the American orbit. So now you've got UAE and Qatar and Bahrain and Saudi and Kuwait and others saying, hey, we're with you. We'll shoot with you. We'll fly with you. We'll defend with you.
The Europeans finally got off the sidelines. Spain, after closing its bases, is now joining a fleet of Dutch, Greek, and Italian warships sailing to Cyprus off the coast of Israel. Iran's bruised, battered, and isolated. Their ballistic missile attacks have dropped by 90%. And good news, Israelis are coming out of their bunkers. The country lowered its public threat level to allow citizens to gather in public places again. And flights are now being allowed to take off from Tel Aviv. And we're learning more about how the Israelis duped the Ayatollah into thinking he was safe. Reports say Jewish generals all made sure to be publicly seen leaving their headquarters Friday night. Iranian intelligence expected the coast was clear for the weekend. But the generals snuck back into the building wearing disguises. The Ayatollah and his top officials took a breakfast meeting on Saturday above ground. Boom. Every single Iranian leader is either dead, missing, or sweating bullets in a bunker. The president says he has to be personally involved in picking who gets to run the country. Inside Iran, the runner-up is Khomeini's son. But Trump says this: they're wasting their time. Khomeini's son is a lightweight. He's unacceptable to me. We want someone that will bring harmony and peace to Iran. And according to WikiLeaks, Khomeini's son doesn't have what it takes to lead the nation. Intelligence cables reveal Khomeini Jr. visited British hospitals to treat severe erectile dysfunction. Mossad already has him targeted for assassination. Shouldn't be that hard. The U.S. administration, while pushing for regime collapse, is also defending attacks against oil tankers and oil infrastructure. Oil isn't moving out of the strait. A refinery was hit. A tanker flagged to the Bahamas, also on fire. Gas prices have gone up about 25 cents a gallon since Saturday. There's going to be some short-term pain for American consumers until the Iranians are defanged, which we hope is within just a few weeks, and oil drops back down to the 60s.
We had it very low, but I had to take this little detour if it's okay with everybody.
But no one's more spooked than the Chinese. They just ordered their refineries to suspend exports. If Operation Epic Fury succeeds and Beijing ever gets frisky, Trump can make one phone call and slap Xi with an oil embargo. The Trump administration is securing American interests in the Middle East and in Latin America. Venezuela is sending oil to Texas refineries to take the bite out of this price spike. And instead of sending gold to China, those shipments stopped. Doug Burgum's down in Caracas cutting a mining deal to send gold bars north to Fort Knox. As we cement American power in the Persian Gulf, we're consolidating power here in the Western Hemisphere. This weekend at the RAL, Trump's hosting a Latin American summit where all the leaders will talk shop and play golf. Maybe Cuba can come next year.
What's happening with Cuba is amazing, and we think that we want to finish this one first, but that will be just a question of time before you and a lot of unbelievable people are going to be going back to Cuba. Hopefully not to stay. We want you back, but we don't want to lose you. We don't want to make it so nice that they stay.
Remember the domino theory during the Cold War? Trump's flipping dominoes the other way. The world's changing fast because the United States is imposing our will. We have the power to shape our own destiny like no other country in the history of civilization. It's just a matter of, do we have the will? And we pray that Operation Epic Fury is a success, and for the safety of our troops, and for the quick return of the free flow of oil. Host of Kudlow, Larry Kudlow. The Strait. Why is that so critical?
About a fifth of the world's oil and gas flows through the Straits of Hormuz. But this is a problem that's going to go away very soon. I mean, the Iranian Navy is sunk. It's on the floor of the Persian Gulf for the main. So there's stories by all these pessimistic lefties that little motorboats, little skiffs, are going to come around and shoot your oil tanker if you go through the Strait. So, okay, fine. They might actually get one. So we're taking action, as you probably know. The Navy is going to accompany cargo ships. They're ready. The cargo ships are lined up. They're ready to rock. The insurance rates have been raised, so our government's going to give some help and take some of the risk out of that. The Navy will escort. I think, you know, I spoke to Ed Urdeni today, a very distinguished economist on Wall Street, who's a good thinker. One or two cargo ships coming through the Straits of Hormuz, one or two, will drop the price of oil substantially. You're at $80-85 right now. We should be around $60. And as the president told me a few weeks ago, it should get down to 55. Okay, fine. Put a few cargo ships through. Put it through. Take care of the insurance, and you'll see a huge change.
Yeah, psychologically, once that opens up, everybody will get back in action.
I mean, it's a funny thing. All this, I'm reading the same kind of pessimism that you're describing in the war, which is just full of untruths and lies. So look we're in a boom here. Can I just say that? Yep. You and I have talked about this from time to time. This is a business boom. This is a productivity boom. This is a profits boom. This was a stock market. Stock market, you know, you think it was crashing left and right. The whole 6-day period, the Dow's off 2%. The S&P 500 is off less than 1%. It's not.
Rallies when? When's this rally? You get the Strait open, you see a rally then, or once the military of the Iranian regime's decimated?
I think it will all kind of come together in the next couple of weeks, okay? The fundamentals are great. Profits are great. Look, the one big beautiful bill, the tax incentives, the deregulation. Think about this. We're producing so much oil right now, okay? Just oil itself, we're almost at 14 million barrels a day. All right, and if you combine all the distillates, we're producing more oil and petroleum distillates than Saudi Arabia and Russia together. This was Donald Trump, 2015, when we started the campaign. Drill, baby, drill was an act of genius. So we are not held hostage to people like Iran.
And then once we get control over the situation, China's screaming.
China's in so much trouble right now. They were in trouble before this. Now, by the way, China is probably the biggest victim of the Straits of Hormuz right now, because most of their oil flows through there, and they're doing very badly. But look, the point I'm making is we're rolling. Just move these cargo ships through the Straits of Hormuz. By the time I'm told, in a couple of days, the Navy will be in place.
Little Josephine, my little kitty. Yes, 15 years old. He's like me. He's in his later years. Ah, yes. He's a good little baby. Yes, you are. Daddy's little baby. Yes, you are.
A big drop in oil. Look, we are the biggest oil producer. And, as you mentioned in your excellent opening, when you add in Venezuela, we're talking even more. And you know what? Before long, Jesse, we're going to add in Iran. It's about 3 million barrels a day. They're going to wind up helping it. And their drones hitting all the Sunni Gulf states right now. The UAE is talking about pulling out all they're freezing their assets. They're financing the Revolutionary Guard they have for many years. I'm sorry to report that.
So once those guys start missing paychecks,
that's right.
That's when the immunity calls come.
They're going to freeze all of that money.
Once you cut off the weekly paycheck.
So these guys,
hey, put the arms down. I'll do whatever you want.
This is the stupidest saber rattling I've ever seen.
Yeah, they haven't
lay down their arms. Lay down their arms
and do the right
thing.
thing.
Trump's deal, for God's sake.
They should believe that Ayatollah should have taken it, and now he's dead. Larry, great to see you. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Jess.
Jack Carr is a former Navy SEAL and New York Times best-selling author. Jack, you're seeing two superpowers, maybe a little less than a superpower, China jockey for position all over the world. What's happened in the last week?
Well, there's a few things, and when guys like me hear something like regime change, WMD, we get understandably skeptical after the 20 years in Afghanistan and all those years in Iraq, but it's not apples to apples. I think that's an important thing to consider. Every situation is different. There's not a model and paradigm that you can apply to every single military operation or geopolitical crisis around the world. Of course, there'll be unintended consequences. Very healthy to ask questions about these things, I think, but there's a tool that was not as impactful on our last wars as it is being on this war right now. And of course, that's social media tools. Every tool can be a weapon, but the manipulation that I'm seeing from influencers, corporate entities, it can be governments, it can be non-governmental organizations, it can be intelligence organizations, it can be all of these things, agitators, perhaps even the algorithm itself, and it can all feed into this politics of conspiracy. So I'm going to come back to that really quickly in a second here, but I often wonder...
Where are you seeing that, though? Give me an example. Jack, hold on a second. Give me an example where you're seeing a manipulation, kind of a psyop with this war effort.
I heard Habib Reddick-Gore put it this way today, not as far as conspiracy go, but just as far as what's happening. There's a regional chessboard and there's a global chessboard. We're playing both. Israel's playing regionally. Right now, those chessboards coincide, and we both want the same things for now. That could that could shift at any given time, meaning someone comes to power, we put somebody in power, they have the support of the military, the intelligence apparatus, and they acquiesce on, let's say, the nuclear weapon front, and they accept enriched uranium to power their country for the rest of time from the administration. Well, okay, that's something that we want. Israel wants something maybe a little different at this point, and they want that person because that person might still want Israel wiped off the map. So now things aren't coinciding anymore. So then it won't feed into that politics of conspiracy anymore. But right now it sure does, because we have goals that align. So I think it's very important to recognize we're playing a global game, and that includes China, of course, what we saw in Venezuela, and your conversation that you just had, Venezuela, Iran, Russia, all bypass our sanctions and supply China, allowing them to build up their strategic reserves. And Venezuela now, not anymore. Iran probably very soon won't be doing that either. That'll just leave Russia and China in that dynamic. So this is much more global for the United States than it is for Israel.
Absolutely agree. Right now the interests align, but if they ever divide, I think the United States gets the vote. It usually does. Jack, great to talk to you. Thank you so much. Coming up, Trump fires Kristi Noem.
About Pure Talk's latest offer. She said, Michael, that's a third of what I'm paying my current provider. How's that even possible? I said, Mom, your Pure Talk hired me to make a few commercials on my iPhone. That's why you can get unlimited talk and text with plenty of data on a crazy fast 5G network for just $25 a month. You're welcome. Pure Talk. Everything you need. Nothing you don't.
Eye bags, dark spots, wrinkles.
Made for our skin and backed by science, and it actually works.
I honestly didn't think a cream could do this.
10, with 3 times better absorption and the number 1.
You feel that right away.
Bring 4 times more menthol.
HHS Secretary Kristi Noem, and she's already been replaced. Peter Doocy live at the White House with the details. Peter.
Yes, and her last day is coming up. We don't expect Secretary Noem to be given a gold Rolex on her way out because officials here have revealed that they are really steamed at her for 4 things. So an administration source texted me the following right after this news broke. It was time. Replacing Kristi was based on the culmination of her many unfortunate leadership mishaps, including the fallout in Minnesota, the $200 million ad campaign, the allegations of infidelity, the mismanagement of her staff, and her constant feuding with the heads of other agencies, including CBP and ICE. And when we had her on our show, on our Sunday show, the Sunday Briefing, at the end of January, right after Alex Preddy was killed in Minnesota during some anti-ICE protests, I remember asking her a question about whether or not it was protocol for ICE agents, which fell under her supervision, to shoot somebody after a video appeared to show that a weapon had been removed. And her answer, I looked it up, was it's all part of the investigation. Every video will be analyzed. It seems like around then is when the dam broke and people here started to get really frustrated because this is a president who doesn't like shooting. He also knows when something looks bad and when the public opinion is starting to turn. And it definitely started to turn. The polls reflected that. President Trump sent Tom Homan in to try to make amends with Democratic leaders and with law enforcement and to find a way down. But it seems like over the last couple of weeks, there was more and more frustration with her. So she's on the way out. She's going to be the special envoy for the Shield of the Americas, according to President Trump. That is a new job that has been created, and he's going to tell us what it does on Saturday. Jesse?
All right, I'm sure Kristi Noem is very curious about what that job is, too. Peter, good to see you. Thank you so much. Before America struck Iran Saturday, another operation was already underway. 6 days earlier, Kurdish fighters were mobilizing. Hundreds reportedly slipped across the border into Iran, setting up for a possible ground offensive. The White House says it never signed off on the foreign insurgency plan, but America's partnered with the Kurds in the past. The Kurds have real muscle. There's over 40 million of them spread across the Middle East, and they control strategic areas around the Iran-Iraq border. President Trump reportedly spoke with Kurdish leaders on Sunday, and today he signaled to Reuters he'd support a Kurdish incursion. Quote, I think it's wonderful that they want to do that. I'd be all for it. But when asked if the U.S. would provide air cover, Trump said, can't tell you that. But maintain the objective for the Kurds is to win. Rubio says, we're not arming them. But, quote, you never know with the Israelis. The New York Times says the CIA has previously given small arms to the Kurds as part of a covert program to destabilize Iran before the war. Kurdish leaders are publicly denying a ground offensive, but Axios says it could start later this week if the United States gives the green light. Kurds don't have the ethnic clout to rule the Iranian capital, but they have guns and mojo. And remember, many of them used to live in Iran, so they know the ropes. They could draw the Iranian Republican Guard units out into the open and expose them to U.S. airstrikes. They could also provide security for the Iranian people in the capital and help prevent another regime crackdown. John Kiriakou is a former CIA agent. Do you think the Kurdish play is a distinct possibility?
Oh, I would say the chances are 100%. The Kurds have long worked with the United States. They are brave fighters, pro-American. We've worked with them very closely in the past against Saddam Hussein. We worked with them in Syria against Bashar al-Assad. This is a logical next step.
Okay, there they are doing cartwheels over fire. That's an interesting training technique. I've never seen anybody do that before, but in all seriousness, what would be the strategy once they cross the border? To draw the Iranian units out, to go straight to the capital? Is it a decoy? Is it security? What would their role be?
I think it's probably the first. They likely couldn't make it all the way to Tehran without significant assistance from the United States, but I don't think that would be the goal. I think the goal would be to capture areas that historically have been Iranian Kurdistan and to draw the Revolutionary Guard out so that they would be that much easier to strike.
Do you see other ethnic groups move into Iran proper? We're hearing Azerbaijan got hit, and they got some hardcore fellas that have been licking their chops to go south for quite some time.
They do, and you know, one thing most people don't know, I think, is that there's the country of Azerbaijan, and then there's an Iranian province of Azerbaijan, and they're, of course, ethnically closely related. I think the Azeris were really, really angry when this strike came their way yesterday, I guess it was, and I think that they would be very happy to work with the United States on this.
So we have to assume we have CIA officers inside the Iranian capital. What are they doing right now?
I'm not sure that there are CIA officers per se in the capital. CIA agents, those people who are recruited by the CIA, I'm sure are all over the place. And historically, the Israelis have had just an incredible intelligence presence all across Iran. The Israelis are very, very active in Iran. They have been for years. I would think that what they are reporting back to their handlers, whether American or Israeli, is essentially targeting information at this point. We would want to know, as the Israelis would want to know, where the remaining generals live, for example, whether they're going to work, and if they go to work, where is that work located? Who's running the country? Who's exposed and might be liable for an attack? I think it's all about the targeting.
All right, so right now we're still in targeting phase. Are they also juggling supporting popular uprising phase? When does that transition occur?
Well, if the Israeli media are to be believed, the Israelis have been on this issue like white on rice. That the Israelis have taken credit, frankly, for the popular uprising that
Peekaboo.
Begin
Little
several
peekaboo.
weeks ago.
Eating a little supper.
The Israelis have people on the ground. The Israelis are happy to spend the money. The Israelis are working with the Mujahideen Khalq, the MEK, to get people into the streets. I think we'll be seeing a lot more of that as the targeting becomes more and more fulsome and successful.
Okay. It's an exciting time to be alive. That's an understatement. John, thank you so much for your expertise. Why do Democrats want us to lose the war? Prepare Fox News alert, we just got police body cam footage of the moment a shooter wearing an Iranian flag shirt gunned down Americans at a Texas bar. Senior national correspondent Kevin Cork has the tape. Kevin.
Hey to Jesse, police still investigating the Austin, Texas shooting as a possible act of terrorism. In the meantime, they have released video footage and 911 call recordings of the attack and the area and the time surrounding that attack. And a warning, it's pretty tough to listen to and to watch.
Everybody go! 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 Where is he? Where?
People dead over here. There's been multiple people shot in the house right now.
That immigrant gunman wearing a hoodie that read, quote, property of Allah, opening fire outside of a bar in Austin, Texas. Police body cam showing the chaotic scene as officers advanced on the killer, eventually shooting him dead. And all 3 people, Jesse, were killed, 16 others injured in that shooting that happened on the very same timeline over the weekend as the U.S. launched strikes on Iran. fueling fears that there may be violent retaliation against Americans. And while the investigation is ongoing, there are indicators that the shooter's vehicle, that indicate a possible nexus to terrorism. That according to officials with the FBI. By the way, the feds still say it's a little too early to tell or to make that determination specifically, but the FBI's Joint Terrorism Task Force has been deployed to aid in the investigation. I think we all know where this is going, Jesse, but they do have to play out the string and see how it all goes.
Yeah, well, a lot of brave police down in Austin, Texas. Thank you, guys.
Yes, sir.
All right. We're not even a week into Operation Epic Fury. Iran's leaders are dead, the Navy's underwater, and we control the skies. But if you change the channel, don't. But if you do, you'd think we lost.
The reality is that the Iranians maintain pretty shocking military capability and asymmetric capability.
Once you go to regime change from the air, which cannot be achieved, you're setting up the military not only to fail, but we as a country will have failed.
I think that the war in Iran is not going the way he had hoped and wanted. This is a real mess.
The media has turned into Iranian state TV. If it was up to them, we wouldn't have fired a shot at the Ayatollah until his finger was this close to the big red button. Or worse, until after Trump was dead. The regime's been trying to get him for years. A day before Butler, a wannabe assassin was arrested, claiming he was sent in by the Iranians. The FBI caught him in a sting. Primetime just got the tapes. Watch. Trump wasn't going to wait, so he took the shot. Dems still aren't sold. 53 Democrats voted against calling Iran the largest state sponsor of terrorism. AOC, Omar, Maxine Waters, no relation, all voted against it. And seditious Mark Kelly thinks the people Johnny interviewed on the street would be a better commander-in-chief.
And I'm thinking, you could pick a random group of people off the street tonight here in Washington, D.C., just a random group, and they could probably do a better job than our government is doing.
Oh, shame on you.
It's okay to worry about the war. I do. It's okay to ask questions, raise concerns. We all have them. But it's not okay to lie about the war, to say we're losing, or that there's no plan, or the war is illegal. They never side with the country. Remember when they thought Space Force was a joke?
No one asks how we're going to pay for this Space Force.
There's no threat in space. Who are we fighting? Satellites?
When Trump talks about Space Force, he makes it sound like we're going to be on a rocket riding to the moon, like Space Force, riding them down and killing aliens.
Yes.
Space Force is a critical mission right now. They deployed heat-seeking infrared beams that detect missiles the second they launch so that our guys can take shelter when the rockets get neutralized. Space Force is working on U.S. soil, so they're out of harm's way. Thank God. Operation Epic Fury has exceeded expectations so far, and 90% of MAGA supports it. Look at that. Trump's more popular with his base than ever.
Republicans love Donald Trump more
Amen.
than any president's own party supporters loved him at this particular point. 86% of Republicans approve of the job that Donald Trump is doing at this point. That is higher than either Obama or Bush had within their own party at this point. Trump's magic touch has not seen a war off yet when it comes to the Republican base.
Dana Lash is a nationally syndicated radio host. Dana, you got a former CIA director saying Iran's doing great and we're losing. Why would he say that?
Is that the same one that lied to Congress when he said he wasn't listening to members of the media or members of Congress? I mean, I can't recall how many of these former heads of these security departments have lied under oath. So I just take it with a grain of salt. Jesse, you know, one thing is really clear here is that A, it's not a war. We haven't declared war. Iran declared war on us in 1979, but Congress hasn't declared war. These are precision strikes, and it's exactly what Alexander Hamilton was talking about in the Federalist Papers, 2070 and 74 to be exact. And then, what's more, War Powers Act was followed. Congress was notified. I understand the message that has been clearly communicated by the White House and making sure that it's understood that sometimes the consequence of inaction is greater than the consequence of action. And I thought they've been very transparent on that. And I don't see how in any way this is viewed as Iran being successful. As you noted, Jesse, we dominate the airspace. We dominate the Navy. I mean, what are these people using as their gauge of success? I wouldn't trust any of these people can bust a grape in a fruit fight. So I don't count on any of their opinions to be able to properly adjudicate what is a successful military mission.
Yeah, you know, it's patriotic to dissent. Everybody does it, Republicans, Democrats, and you can dissent during war. That's okay. But you can't lie about the war. You can't get on national TV as a former CIA director or a senator and say we're losing and we're gonna lose. And it's Thursday.
Yeah, because they want us to lose. These people, these vapid, miles wide, inches deep, mullah-loving morons want America to lose.
That's right.
People get excited
Unfortunately.
when they see America suffer. They get excited when they see our troops targeted. These people get excited when they see the United States attacked, persecuted, prosecuted, and ridiculed on the international stage. These people are championing the regime. They're sad that Khamenei's dead. You can't tell me otherwise. I have never seen so many people that you've shown here with these clips who hate America so viscerally.
Right.
They're sitting here cheering for
Shamefully.
trying to rewrite what just happened. We all see it. That's why it's being reflected in the polls. This president's not losing.
82, and I love the country, and I love President Trump. Is he perfect? No. Is he doing the right things? As far as I know, he is doing absolutely the right things. God bless him.
That as conservatives, we are all very nervous about getting involved in long, protracted wars. Sure. We've grown up with it. We have grown up with Iran being the bad guy and doing all of this stuff. But this is a new administration. This is a very new Republican president, the likes of which our generation has not seen. And he is enforcing what he says, and he's being consistent. Quick in, quick out, minimal loss of life, minimal use of resources. That's exactly what we want in a commander-in-chief, and exactly what we want when it comes to commandeering and prosecuting this conflict.
You're right, and he has earned our trust.
Amen.
And everybody understands that. Everybody understands that. He's got a track record. He's earned our trust. Anna, great to see you. Thank you so much. An American caught in the Middle East war zone escapes. He's here to tell a story.